And prior to this, I trained another guy called Richard Taylor. I took over the training of Richard Taylor. Now, Richard Taylor was an interesting young man. He was 23 in 1974, and he was the only, in my opinion, he was the only man in the world who could have beaten Lasse Buren in Montreal. And I know because I helped train Lasse Buren and I helped train Richard Taylor. And I was developing a coach down in Otago, in Dunedin, Otago, New Zealand. His name was Alistair McMurran. Today he's a very good coach, and he actually succeeded in Montreal with one of his athletes, Ewan Robinson, got sixth in the final of the steeplechase. And so today he's a pretty competent man, but in those days he wasn't competent enough. And I had set all the training up for Richard Taylor, and I was monitoring what they were doing. Now, Richard Taylor actually developed what we call ankylosing spondylitis. It's an arthritic complaint that affects only fit young men, one in about every 20,000. And I know two young men that have had this, and both fit young men who are potentially very great. And anyway, in the course of his conditioning, Taylor had gone out and run the marathon in 2:15. He'd never raced a marathon before. He raced a marathon in 2:15, and that year he'd come out and run a mile in 3:57. So here we had a guy that could run a fast marathon and a fast mile. And he came out and ran his first ever 10K in 1974 and won the provincial title in 28:50. He came out and won the New Zealand 10K in 28:20, and he was improving rapidly. And now he had to stop training. Something went wrong with his leg, and he stopped for about 4 or 5 weeks. And we had 6 weeks to go to the Commonwealth Games. And the British Commonwealth Games, next to the Olympics, are the biggest track and field meet in the world. There are 44 countries, and you've got the Kenyans and Tanzanians, all these guys in. David Bedford, who held the world record, was the big star at those days, and he was from England in the race. And Taylor, we got him running again, and I took him to a school because now his prize giving in New Zealand is at Christmas. Our school's closed opposite time of year to you, and I was presenting prizes at a high school, and we went down to this track, and we used a grass track. They put a white line around the track, and they could be anything from 350 metres to 400 metres. I wouldn't know. And so I said to Taylor, you better get up there and do those repetitions. Now, whenever you miss any training, if something goes wrong, you get a cough or a cold and you can't train, you've got to look at what you missed in your training. That's what you've got to do. Because it's like baking your cake. If there's an ingredient missing, it's not going to taste too good. Same in training, you can't coordinate something you don't have. So you look and see what you lost, and you try and mix the training and balance it in. And this is what we had to do with Taylor. He actually missed out the hard anaerobic work. And normally I would never give anyone hard anaerobic work 6 weeks to go, but we had to do it. So we put him on the track, and I said, run fast one, jog one, run one, jog one. Okay, so what actually happened was, the kids were standing there and they were watching this. It was Te Awamutu College, by the way. And the kids were watching there. They said, what's he going to do? And I told them. They said, well, what time's he going to run them? And I said, I don't know. I'm not going to time them. They said, how many is he going to do? I said, I'm not going to count them. And I said, how far is the track around? The kids looked at me and thought, what a giggle this is to be training the New Zealand team for the Olympic, for the Commonwealth Games. See? So when Taylor came in, they said to him, how many did you run? He said, I never counted them. And they said, well, what time did you run them? And he said, I never timed them, you see. Because he had to go by his reaction. I just want to explode this myth that you people have about getting that watch and going out there and someone can tell you exactly what you should do in anaerobic training. Because it's a lot of eyewash. Believe me, interval training is a lot of eyewash. Okay, so don't believe it. It looks good, but it's a lot of eyewash. Okay, Taylor went out and won the Commonwealth Games 10K. He won it in 27:43. Won it very easily. Just wiped the field out when he was ready. Because I always make my athletes stay back till halfway. When you're halfway, keep out of trouble. Yeah, just sit back and within a striking distance. He stayed back and watched the Tanzanians and the Kenyans tripping up the English. And yeah, they run all up the front there and they bat the front and they're on the back. And David Bedford said, if they do that to me in the 5,000 metres, I'll drop them on the track and all that. But Taylor stood back and watched them and just took him when he was ready. We never really saw how good he could be. Came over here, ran 2 races indoors, beat all the best runners you had over here, and they brought over from overseas. Went home and he couldn't walk. He was in hospital for 3 months. Then they realised what it was. We could never train him again. But we got him out. He'll come and jog in a marathon. He'll jog a marathon 2:40 with his friends. That's all. His potential is so great. But here was this great athlete. But I'm just using it to make a point because there's too many people too concerned with that watch out on that track and realise you can't do it. No one can do it. Not even these German physiologists would try to say exactly what to do. You can advise, but as long as you understand the physiological reasons for the training and make yourself tired with speed and volume, you're going to get the desired results. Okay. Now we keep doing this hard anaerobic work. You've got to understand that you've got to do this overload work and do it for 4 weeks to 5 weeks. It's better to underdo a hard anaerobic training than to overdo it. If we understand the principle of it, you've got to pull the pH level of blood down, and then you must let it get back to normal again. You must get it back to normal again before you pull it down again. Now, if you do hard anaerobic training and you get the pH level of blood down and keep it down by not allowing for full recovery, you're going to undermine your health and you're going to destroy your potential development. The reasons being that vitamins only function in our pH range, and you're not going to get the value from your food. We know that some enzyme functions are affected by a low pH level of blood being maintained down low, so your recovery rate can be retarded, and other metabolic actions and reactions in your body can be affected. We know your blood platelets get very low, your immune system's affected. In your country about a decade or so ago, you had a lot of runners like even Jim Ryan who got mononucleosis. These people are continually breaking down with muscle pulls and things like this. You're starting to see it with Sebastian Coe, where they've been trying to emphasise more speed, and the guy's got pressure on him. He's racing too much, he's doing too much speed work, he's not doing what he was doing when he built himself up, and he's getting a continuity of breakdown. When they turn around and say he's got glandular fever twice in 6 months, I don't believe it. There has to be a reason for it. So we know that, and I always telling people this, these people get on that track doing interval training and speed work continually. That guy out on the road that walks down there, smokes and drinks, doesn't exercise, probably has a better immune system than that kid down that track. Let's understand that. That's actually so, and doctors can tell you this. So you're playing with dynamite when you're playing with anaerobic training. And if we give you excessive anaerobic training, realize something, you're going to get burned out.
David Black, David Bedford, Richard Juma, Dick Taylor, Dan Shaughnessy, the Canadian's going a good race too. He's just in behind Taylor.
And here's Taylor, he's made contact, and that's what he wanted to do. What a sensible race he's run. He kept up that suicidal early pace, and he's come through the staggering run here. It's magnificent by Dick Taylor to come onto this leading bunch. And I'd say Bedford's got trouble on his hands now.
Dick Taylor's personal best in the 10,000 metres is 28 minutes 28, but he wants to run 30 seconds faster, and a time of 30 seconds faster would take him under 28 minutes. His last race here on the park, you may remember, Dick Taylor cut 20 seconds off his previous best. So this man is really improving. And 1,200 metres to run. Black, Juma, Taylor, Bedford.
And the pace has slowed down to a 71, but David Black's taking off. He knows that Dick Taylor's on him, and it's too slow for David Black to beat Dick Taylor in that sort of pace. He's taken off.
Remember Harold Nelson at Eden Park in Auckland in 1960, winning the 6 miles? We may see a repeat from Dick Taylor in Christchurch in 1974. David Black, Dick Taylor, 300 metres to run.
Dick Taylor full of adrenaline taking off. It must be streaming through his blood.
200 metres to run.